It is Nicole Dennis from theparentpreneur.com here, and I am here with my friend Rachel Smith, who is pretty amazing. She's done lots of amazing things. We used to work together in my previous career when I was in project management in the transport planning and infrastructure world. But Rachel is also the author of a great book called Underspent. And this book came out of her journey in 2014, where Rachel didn't buy anything new or secondhand for a whole year. And she really just transformed all of her spending habits. I remember when Rachel was doing this, and she saved 38% of her salary during that time. And I guess your life has changed a lot since then, right? Since you went through this little experiment.
Absolutely. And I was thinking about this the other day. I'm kind of really glad that I did that back then, because, there's never been a more important time to have a bit of cash in the bank as some security, because no one knows what the future holds. It may go back to how it was, or it may be, a whole new world, and we don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's like I made a decision, and this in the same year, actually, in 2014, you did that experiment, and I actually started a new business in 2014, which has left me in a much better situation than in a great situation right now in this crisis, actually, which wouldn't have been the case if I hadn't made that decision to start that. So let us know where you're watching this from, if you're watching the live or the replay, and what the weather is like today. It's getting a little cooler here in Queensland, although probably not cold for most climates that people live in. So a couple of questions. I've put a couple of questions together for you, Rachel. So what prompted you to stop buying anything new or secondhand for a year? Because that's a pretty big decision, and we live in a very consumer culture to go, I'm not going to buy anything new or secondhand for a year. What was the inspiration for that?
Absolutely. And that's a really great question. So I guess there were kind of three things. So the first, I'd been doing a project about cities of the future, and we've been running a mobile think tank in New York and Berlin and Mumbai. And so we went to Berlin, and I lived in a really tiny little studio apartment, 4 knives, 4 forks, a couple of bowls, a couple of plates. And I was invited to a party and asked to bring an apple crumble for 20 or 30 people. And so I obviously didn't have any of that baking stuff in my little teeny weeny tiny apartment. So I went down to the cafe downstairs, and I said to the guy, can I borrow a baking tray? And he said, just go into the kitchen and borrow whatever you want and bring it back when you've finished. And I was like, wow, you'd never go into a cafe or a restaurant in Brisbane or Sydney or London and ask to borrow that stuff. So I was like, this is really cool, because I would have bought this baking tray or big baking dish and not needed it again. And then we went with the same project. We went to Mumbai, and we were fortunate that we were able to go into some of the slums that normally people wouldn't go to. And, we got to speak to micro entrepreneurs, the women making the poppadoms, and people recycling old plastic bottle tops into different things. And what I really saw there was that whatever people had, however little they had, they really valued what they had. And I thought, do you know what? We've got so much stuff in Australia, but we don't really value it. And so then I went to the UK at Christmas. My mum and dad are there. And, I was on Oxford Street with my mum, and people were buying like the world was going to end. And everyone was buying the perfect gift for the person that's got everything, who doesn't want anything. People were fighting over stuff in John Lewis. And I was like, I've had these other 2 different experiences. So just on New Year's Eve, going into 2013, just from nowhere, I hadn't planned this. I guess it was deep in my subconscious. I was like, I'm not going to buy anything for a year.
Wow.
And so that's how it all started. Yeah, it wasn't planned at all. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And so how did that experience, over a year? So it's quite a long time to not buy anything new. I don't think I could manage that with a 3-year-old, because they keep growing out of everything. For sure, they you have to go get them new clothes, right? Because they just literally don't fit into their stuff. But how did that like make you realize, because we all have a lot of stuff, so what did it make you kind of realize that process of not buying anything new or secondhand for a year? I remember you had some shoes falling apart.
Yeah. So I failed the first time. So I did it in 2013. Mm-hmm. And I'd obviously not prepared. So, you know, it's not like I'd been out stockpiling stuff at the end of 2012. So I failed in 2013. I thought it's really hard. Everyone else is buying stuff. It's punishment. Mm-hmm. It's doom and gloom. It's negative. And so I failed. I went to Noosa at Easter and I bought a pair of trousers, which ironically I didn't really like when I got them home, and I didn't really wear them. And then they ended up in like Vinnie's or Lifeline or somewhere. So I was really angry with myself that I'd failed. So I decided to do it again in 2014. But that was when I saw it as like an opportunity and an experiment. So I thought, to see it as a lifestyle experiment. You know, if you fail, you fail. And if you succeed, you succeed. But secretly, I wanted to succeed, just for myself. And so I just did other things. And like the shoes are a great example. So it was like the end of November, I was working in a big engineering consultancy, and my work shoes had holes in them. And I was like right in the sole. And my boss was like, you can't come in here in like thongs or runners. You need to wear proper shoes. And I thought, I've got so far. I'm right at the end. I'm not going to fail. So I just sent an email around to all the women in the office saying, you know, this is my shoe size. I'll wear anything. And the lady who I was sat next to came in and said, I've got these shoes. They're brand new. I've never worn them. I bought them on impulse. They didn't really fit. They were in the sale. Have them. And so I was like, oh, yeah. So it's about being prepared to ask, I guess. And it made me realize that everyone, and me included, you know, we've got so much stuff. We don't actually know what we've got half the time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, definitely. So you really talk a lot about you shifted your focus from buying things to experiences. So you still would go out and spend some money on experiences. So how has that shifted how you view life and community and those kinds of things? Because I always see you're always out doing different things, maybe not now, but normally you're out doing different things.
So lots of people say, oh, if I'm not buying anything, do I just sit at home and look at 4 white walls and life is really boring? So I still went to horse riding. I went to pottery, you know, went out for dinner, went to the movies, went out for drinks, went for coffee, went for lunch, did all the things that other people, normal people were doing. And I still do those things. But for me now, I do this thing which I call pause before you purchase. So if I want something, like before, I would have just seen something on online shopping or seen it on Instagram and thought, that's a nice top, that's a nice shirt, that's a nice dress, and I just buy it. And like, you know, my real downfalls were clothes and cushions and books. And bags as well, actually, my sister would say. And, you know, I'd see a nice bag and I'd be like, oh, yeah, I love that bag. And I'd just buy it. And then it was like, you've already got like 50 bags. You don't need another bag. And so now I wait. So now I'll wait 90 days. And lots of people say that's way too long. But now I wait. I say to other people, well, give it a go and just wait like 2 hours. So you might go, you know, around the shopping centre on a Saturday. This is how I started doing it. And I'd say, okay, so notice the things that you like. And if you still go for lunch, go for coffee. If you still want them later, go and buy them. But where my problem was that real impulse shopping. I like it, I'll buy it. So now I just think about it. Yeah.
And so obviously now you're buying things now, like you haven't stopped buying things forever, but you're just much more considered with what you buy now. Have you found that that's led you to buying things that you really love, like that you actually, when you do buy something like a new item of clothing or shoes or homewares, that it is something that you really love now, that you make that pause rather than impulse?
Absolutely. So I'll put it, I've got a little list on my iPhone in the notes section, and I write down what I want and when I can, when the 90 days is up. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I really wanted whatever it was. Where before I'd like buy it and then you get it home and you think, oh, she doesn't really fit there. That's not great. and you end up selling stuff. One of my old school friends from the UK, like she's buying and then reselling stuff on Facebook all the time, because she's like, oh yeah, I bought this piece of furniture, it doesn't really fit, it looked great on the, online, but now I don't like it. So it's really made me reconfirm that wish list or the waiting list is a really cool thing to do, and it's so simple as well. That's great. So you're not like denying yourself, but you're just being really considered about what you are going to purchase. That's awesome. You do talk a bit about in your book as well, because you didn't buy anything new or secondhand for a year, you were able to save like 38% of your take-home salary, and you're a professional, so that's like that would have been a decent chunk of money. But you also were able to invest in yourself during that year, and like quite a big investment, right, in your personal development and growth. And that's led you to go on. I've like watched you do some really amazing things from that investment, write a couple of books. And so how has that like changing from like just this impulse purchasing, you were able to like create this kind of like safety net with your money as well, which makes everyone feel more secure, right? If you've got money in the bank, you're stressed, but you were then able to invest in yourself. And how has that changed like what you're doing professionally and career-wise, making that investment? So it just so happened that in like about March 2014, someone said, I've got a free ticket to an entrepreneur course. I can't go. Do you want to go? So it was like a one-day thing. And so I went along and I thought, oh, wow, engineering and infrastructure is changing. And so I thought, well, now I've got the money, because it was like 10 grand. And I thought, well, before I would have spent that 10 grand on clothes, or I don't know where my money, literally, I don't know where money went. As I said, I was spending 38% of my money on unnecessary purchases, if you will. And so I ended up signing up for the course. I didn't really know. I didn't have a business. I didn't even have an ABN. So they were like, okay.
You're an employee at the time, right? Like
I was an employee. And so I went on to do that, which then meant that I had a book on transport planning. I then, because I'd done the course, I was like, well, I could share my year of no buying and make it into a book. So I published the Underspent book, and it then meant that I could go on to have multiple income streams. And I think that really is the I don't know what the word is, but that's like the key to success. If you're just reliant on a job where you've got you're beholden to your employer, and loads of people, found now that they've lost their job, or they don't know what their employer's plan is. So it gave me not only being able to kind of stop the unnecessary spending, but also to have a financial buffer and savings, and also then to have multiple income streams, and then go on to start my own business. And I would have never have done any of that, I don't think, unless I'd done my year of no spending. For sure.
Now you have created that other business and other income streams, and a lot of people now are finding themselves with their work hours really reduced, which has reduced their income, or perhaps they've found that they don't have a job at all. Like a lot of people have lost their jobs in the current crisis, and so you have been through that as well, right? So what is your advice? Like, obviously not everyone has done the work to have a financial buffer in place or to have another income stream. They're not in that position, like, which, it's so funny. We both made this decision in 2014, which have left us both in a very different like situation in this crisis to what we otherwise would have been in. But what would be your advice to people who are like in the midst of the crisis now, and they really are struggling like financially? Like, how do they plan at this time to set themselves up so that there's going to be another crisis, maybe not a global pandemic, but we have personal crises in our lives, illnesses of family members. There's always something that, it's really good to be prepared for. So what are some practical things people can start to think about doing as we come out the other side of this?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So one of the other reasons I guess I did my year of no buying is I thought I'd seen loads of people having their roles made redundant. And I kind of manifested my own redundancy. I kept talking about it, and then it came true in December 2015. And, you know, it is, even I got a job almost straight away, like within a couple of days. But it's still a really difficult thing to go through. So, you know, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It is, and there's a lot of stigma around it, how other people treat you. And people feel ashamed, you know, to say now that they've had their hours reduced, or, you know, their contracts ended or whatever. And we need to change that stigma. But one of the really good things that I would say to anyone is what I do. I don't believe in budgets per se, but what I did was multiple bank accounts. So I'd have one for, so you have your current account, and then they were all linked. So they didn't have cards or fees. And so then when I got paid, when I had a job, I'd put money into, you know, like the bills, then like fund money. So it's not saying don't ever do anything, but so you've got your money for like coffees, or like I go horse riding every week. I can still do that actually, so that's great. And, you know, going out on the weekend, you know, I always go hiking on a Saturday, and we all go out for breakfast after. So you've got your fund money, and then money for, you know, bills and stuff, and then some like long-term savings. And even if you're only putting like $10 or $20 a week or a month into that, it just means you've got a bit of reserve. And I think that's really important, that people, you know, whatever you've got, and, you know, some people are really, really struggling, but yeah, having those different accounts, you know, like the envelope system that people used to have years ago, or like my grandma lived on a farm and they used to have jam jars, you know, and she put all the money in, but you're just blocking it out.
Yeah.
So because, you know, Parkinson's law tells us whatever we've got, we just use it. So whether it's time or money. And so if all your money's just in your current account, it kind of, you know, dribbles off and it's gone. So that would be one of my top tips for people.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. I did that a few years ago, set up all the different accounts, a spending one, a fun one. And even my 3-year-old has her jam jars. So she has like that, she gets money every week to put into those. And I can tell you, it even works with little children, because when we go to the shop and she sees toys and she's like, you know, because that's really all that 3-year-olds care about is dolls or something like that. She's like, I want a doll, or I want this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you can't get that today. You have to like go home and you have to bring your money that you're saving up to spend on stuff back to the shop, and then you can buy what you want. So she's
right.
teaching her from young. Nobody taught me, so I'm teaching her to do that, because I had terrible spending habits.
And that's great, because she's learning straight off that, you know, you've got to save up for stuff, which is, you know, what loads of us got. I was lucky. My parents were entrepreneurs, and so, you know, I kind of grew up with this stuff. But, you know, not everyone, unfortunately, has been fortunate enough to, you know, to learn that stuff at an early age. My mom, I used to have pocket money for doing like chores. And then my mom was like, when we'd go on holiday, we'd always go to Cornwall for a week camping. And she'd say, you can either divide the money by the days of the week, like, you know, a bit of money for 7 days, or wait and find something that you really like and buy that at the end. So that's what I always used to do. I'd be like, say, you know, find something that I really liked and then buy that at the end.
Delayed gratification, so I think it's really important that people sort of start to learn to do that, instead of just going out and, you know, because the whole world is set up to get us to impulse buy.
And if you look at like the marketing and the advertising, it's all geared around us not being satisfied with what we've already got. And so, you know, it's like buy now, buy more, buy constantly, you know. And even now it's really hard, because, you know, governments are saying everyone needs to go out and spend money in shops, because that keeps the economy going. But then you have to also think about your own personal economy, that actually maybe it's good to save a little bit so that you've got something for a rainy day as well.
Yeah, I've been really conscious of that actually at this time, of like trying, like, you know, how to, you know, not completely stop spending because of all the businesses that are really struggling right now. So I've been trying to do some things in my local community, like my local cafe is doing meals where you can purchase like and eat at home. So I I don't really need to do that. I can cook, but I've been buying some meals off
Yeah.
them every week, or getting some takeaways. And we've been having pizza night once a week from the local pizza shop. We can't go there and have dinner, but just trying to support those like small businesses, which I know, being a business owner myself, it's very hard where you got all these overheads, particularly in those like, they have rent, they have a lot of outgoings, to just try and support them. So I guess it's not really buying things, but it's like taking the experience that we can't have by going out and enjoying a restaurant with our friends and bringing it home and making it like a fun family thing. So trying to, so I've been really focused on trying to support those small local businesses right now.
And I said right from the beginning, I'm going to I'm going to continue to go horse riding. We've changed. We don't ride in a group anymore. It's all one-to-one. But I was like, you've got animals to feed. So whatever happens, I'm still going to come and do this because I want you to be here after. And I don't want, you've got lovely horses that I love. And so I'm going to put my money into your business. And that's what we should all be doing, almost picking a local business that means something to us and support them. And actually that is underspent step 1, is to identify what's important to you and the things that you love. So, if someone decides that their local community is the most important thing for them and that they love coffee, then they join those two things together.
Yes, I think that's like, I think that's important. Become really aware of our spending habits and really try and support, like, where we can, those people that are struggling right now, and not necessarily with buying stuff, but just helping them with different things. Maybe people can get a voucher for Mother's Day for their mum.
Exactly.
Or they're thinking about that for a local business that can't be open now but can reopen to do things in hopefully soon. So I think it's awesome, all the experiences that you have, and you like are always out having experiences and doing things and out in the community and out like really experiencing life. And I think that's really important. People don't you don't have to like go to the shops and buy money and be at shopping centers to experience. In fact, that's my worst nightmare, going there on the weekends. Like it's I don't really enjoy it. So it's finding other things to do that fulfill you and like make you happy and bring you joy.
Absolutely. And that's really finding out. I was going to say, I don't think people know what their passions are. And actually someone that you and I both know who worked in transport, she said to me, I thought my passions were actually going to shopping centres and buying clothes. She said, but when I actually sat down and wrote my kind of passion list, I realised that it was going to the beach and doing painting and doing crafts outside, like collecting driftwood and making art and doing my garden. And she said, those things don't cost me any money, but I was spending, hundreds of dollars every month on clothes because I thought that's what I liked, but it wasn't. And likewise, other people that I've worked with have said, actually, I spend loads of money on coffee and going out for lunch, which I actually don't really enjoy. But I actually realised that clothes I do love. So I'm going to stop the coffees and the going out for lunches, and I'm going to spend my money on clothes. So it's whatever works for you.
Yeah, I think that's really important, is to just, find what it is that you love and just focus, on having that fun with that, making sure that you're putting money aside for when you need it. And and then just living a balanced life is like super important. Not getting into, I think you see a lot of people, they're in a lot of debt and they've got credit card debts and they've got all these loans, and it's because they're just consuming more and more stuff and it's not making them happy.
Exactly.
So I think there's some really good tips, and you can find Rachel on Facebook, facebook.com/underspent. You could get in touch with her about her underspent work, and her book is fantastic. You can have a read of it. It's got really great tips. And I think if you implement the strategies, you'll like not only have more money, but you'll have more fulfillment in your life as well.
Absolutely. And also the book is in the library. It's in loads of libraries, and like Moreton Bay, where you are, Nicole, I think that library has 30 copies. So people don't even have to buy it. And the ebook is just $2.99 because I wanted to make it cheaper than a flat white, so that it was accessible to everyone.
Yeah, I have the ebook. It's like not expensive, so you can get out and buy it. So thank you so much, Rachel. Great tips, and it's great to see that you are happy and fulfilled in life since you've done your experiment several years ago now.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.